G'day everybody, welcome to Streamaholics. My name is Lukey and I'm a Streamaholic.
Hello everybody, my name is the Warship and I'm a Streamaholic.
G'day everybody, as I said already, welcome to Streamaholics. My name is Lukey. Welcome everybody. Welcome Warship.
Hello, how you doing? Man, how long have we been doing this now? How many weeks?
We are at episode number 8.
You think we'd have it down pat by now, wouldn't you? You'd absolutely think we'd have it down pat. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Thank you for dropping in on this a wonderful Friday in Perth, West Australia. She's a bit of a cold one today. It's not too bad, though. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's pretty nippy. It's pretty nippy. I've got the shoes and the long pants on tonight. I'm usually sitting here behind the scenes, take you behind the curtain. I usually sit here in my pajama pants. Tonight I've got long pants on. Got the shoes on. I've got the heater on. It's all happening here.
Yeah, fantastic.
So what a big week, mate! It's been a. If those of you don't know yet, which I'm sure a lot of you already do, but Shippy has had a pretty big week this week, mate.
Certainly have there, mate. Certainly have. We went ahead and we had a baby. We decided it was time for the baby to appear, and the baby appeared over the week. So
good stuff.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Thankfully, it was a fairly quick process. Nice. I like to say it was like, an easy process, but I have no right to say that whatsoever because I wasn't doing the thing that you have to do. But it was pretty quick. It was fairly swift. It was like a 3-hour turnaround. And for someone who's never had a baby before, it just shows how strong she is. So, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah,
really,
awesome.
Really awesome. Yeah. And now baby's home and safe and small and
nice.
Pooing everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And it's good. It's a good time. Yeah, absolutely all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I came back to streaming like 2 days ago as well. I literally had like maybe 2 days off and then straight back into it. So
that's commitment. That's commitment, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we have to keep working. I feel like, especially in what we do in the entertainment sector of things, is if you're not constantly providing content, you're not constantly doing stuff like that's full disclosure. The reason why my YouTube is currently not doing anything is because I'm not providing content on like a daily to weekly basis. And honestly, the same thing works with Twitch. Before my couple of days break there, we were easily hitting 100 people every stream without fail, and the last couple of days have been a bit of a slog. Like we've got there in the end, but it's taken most of the day to get there, as opposed to guys, we're pushing for partner, thank you for coming in straight away, there's like 1 billion people here. It's definitely it's very strange to see how different it is when there's when you have a little bit of a break. It's not a long break at all, but yeah, constant content is the king, I think, when it comes to streaming. So I knew that as well. So I had to be back in here.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, congratulations for about the 8th time again, mate. But yeah, I understand
thank you.
I understand what you're talking about there. With like, a lot of people would remark at streamers that come back after something eventful in their life happening or having a big week and say, "Oh, what are you doing back after this amount of time? I wouldn't be coming back to family first and all that sort of thing." But in real life, I own my own business. So when we've had babies in the past, like I've been doing stuff in the waiting room and sending emails and stuff, and I might have one day after the babies have been born and then I'm straight back to work, because having a business where I work alone, there's no one there. Like the business isn't ticking over when I'm not there. So I am like, I need to get back to work so I can actually support my family. So I understand exactly how you feel, mate.
Well, yeah, like honestly, like it does take me back to wrestling, because when I was doing graphic design as a wrestler, I was actually working as part of the graphics team for the major company that I wrestled for as well, because I am fully qualified as a designer. That's why my stuff looks the way it does. That's why my logos are always schmicky-doo, and all of the flyers I do for every stream are always good quality. It's because that's how I used to do that for every single match on every single show every single month. As well as big posters and stuff like that. And I remember getting messages in the hospital. I'm sitting there in the actual hospital while I'm waiting to deliver the older children, and I remember getting emails then saying, "Hey, can you please upload this?
Yeah.
Or, hey, can you please get that sorted out? And no, I cannot get that sorted out at all. I'm in hospital right now. Yes, I have my laptop. No, I'm not opening Photoshop at all. Like, and because it wasn't even like, it wasn't stuff I'd forgotten. It was like new edits. And I'm like, are you crazy? I am busy. Like, there's just no way.
Can't you see I'm having a baby here, mate? Come on.
Yeah. It's like sort of like an important day here, you know, guys. Like, I'm sorry, but, you know, this takes precedence, unfortunately.
The world's supposed to stop when we're having our babies, right? Everyone else is supposed to stop. There's no work coming in, a week off. Money still rolling in too, magically. I don't know, you know, in a perfect world.
I'm pretty sure all bills stop as well. Like, you know, all the bills stop and there's no problems at all. And, you know, you get a free pass on rent for the week as well. So
yeah, it's great, isn't it? All the help that you get.
If only, honestly. But at the same time, it's like, I miss the grind too, and I miss getting around the people and hanging out with my friends, because they are my friends on stream now too. Like, you know, so you miss that like social interaction, getting in, having a good time, chat with everyone, and you know, playing games if you feel like it. The first day back, I didn't play anything. I just kind of hung out with people and kind of just talked about what had happened in my experience and how much sleep I hadn't had and all that kind of stuff. Nice. Whilst my community decided to break me and, you know, like donate and gift and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And just because they're awesome, you know. Yeah, exactly right. And then the next night was we played, oh my goodness, what a game we played last night. We played a game called At the Dead of Night, which I don't know if you know what that is, but that's an FMV, so full motion video game. I don't know if you remember PlayStation 1 had a game called D, and it was a vampire game that used like full FMV the whole way through. Yeah, right. But it was a horror game, so you'd turn around corners. All I remember, because I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to play it because it was like I was really young when that was out. But all I remember was looking at the back cover and seeing things like peering around corners, and like any wrong move would get you killed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. Because it was like a vampire game where you're trapped in like the lair of Dracula, like hence the name D. And this At the Dead of Night's very similar. You're in a hotel, and there's a big FMV intro at the start of it, and essentially there's like a guy chasing you with a small baseball bat, and the whole game is like you think it's okay, like, oh, this is cool, it's a cool aesthetic, it's creepy like hotel, and then you start to walk through it, you know, there's like red carpet on the ground and like, you know, ornate wallpaper and all that kind of stuff, and then you start to walk through it and you see things like peer through eye holes on the doors, and you're like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that, because you know what that means. It means you're gonna get scared. And then you find a ghost hunting machine, and that shows up. You're like, okay, cool, ghosts. And like, you know, I'm just walking around being terrified, looking through every room. It's one of those ones too where like you go to the door, it's like, in, open, come through the door, stop, turn around. So every time every time you close the door, you're facing the door at the end, and you have to purposely choose to move again. So there's that point where you're like, shit, he's behind me, isn't he? As soon as I turn around, I'm done. As soon as I turn around.
You can do the whole roll your eyes like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Here we go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Imagine a game that's built on that comedy concept, because that's essentially what it is. And like because it's a ghost hunter game, it's got like Phasmophobia kind of vibes, because you've got the ghost hunting machine, so you can hear ghosts as you're going through. And there's a section at the pretty start, I won't spoil it, but there's like a bit at the start where you think everything's all good. Hey, but you hear a noise. You hear a spoopy noise, and you think there's a ghost there, but you don't see anything. So you're like, okay, cool, I'm good. And then you get back in the elevator, and then as you turn around to watch the elevator door close, there's just a girl there. And then the door closes, and you're like, good. Fantastic. Great. But the whole game's like that, so that was really fun. And like, I left my stream on a really funny note, because they were talking about one of our friends' Ghost in the Machine. A little bit of a running joke we have is that he has no balls. There's even a command in my stream which is like no balls ghost, and then it pops up chat in the thing. And we had been doing that all night, and the last thing I said was, you know what's worse than having no balls? Because we're about to go into the next clue said to go to room 101, and obviously that goes back to like 1984, George Orwell, like the whole like room 101 being like a torture room and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. And we're about to go in that room, and I'm just about there. I'm like, you know what's worse than no balls, guys? Blue balls. And that means that we'll see you for the rest of this next stream. And they were like, no, boo.
Nice.
I want to see that now.
You caught him on the cliffhanger. That was awesome.
Yeah, you always got to keep them wanting more. But yeah, I could talk about that game for hours. Honestly, it's just like a little hidden gem of a game. I saw Markiplier play it on YouTube, and I didn't watch very much of it. I just saw the aesthetic and saw how creepy it was, and I'm like, we're gonna have to play that. Yeah, we're gonna have to play it. And I hate those kind of games too. I hate games where you're powerless. Like Outlast is the example. It's a game I hate. Like, because all you've got is a camera. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like and you have to get batteries, otherwise the camera turns off, and then you're in darkness. And
ooh,
yeah, and Alien Isolation is another one too. Like,
oh yeah, I've seen some people play that Alien Isolation. I like that. I watch the other people play it, put it that way.
There's no weapons. Oh, sorry, there's a flamethrower, and the flamethrower temporarily scares off the xenomorph, but there's no weapons. So the whole game, you're just like,
yeah,
I don't want to die.
Creeping around.
Because it's obviously a monster, and just like you'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden just fall through the ground at the roof, and it'll be like, doing its like thing.
Yeah. I've seen people do that. Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, that kind of ties into stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight as well, when the thing came to horror games and stuff like that. But you've got some stuff to begin with as well, with your Around the Grounds.
Well, do you want to go straight into the horror games thing? I don't mind going straight into that since we're already talking about it, if you want to kick off things with that point.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. We can do Around the Grounds somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I'll just do it a little bit into it. Yeah. So,
what's your perspective on video games when it comes to horror games on the stream?
I've actually always been pretty curious as to how I'd go playing horror games, because it's something that I don't play horror games. I don't get into them very much. I have seen people playing it and found it very entertaining watching other people play horror games. So I think maybe it would be, for me personally, a good thing to try out for streams in the future. But mainly because I'll probably will be squealing like a little girl every single time something happens. So so it'd be interesting. But yeah, you've obviously played a few horror games before. You're into horror games, are you? At least a little bit.
We've played a few of them. It depends what you class as a horror game, because when I first started streaming, one of the first things I played was Subnautica, and I am absolutely terrified of deep sea.
Yeah, me too.
Water's fine, water's all good, and even under the water and building things under there, that was all good. But then it comes to a bit where you get your little submarine, and then you have to just go straight down, and it's just darkness. And to me, when it comes to underwater, that's a bit rough. So but we have played a little bit of other stuff as well, not so much the cliche kind of cheap horror. We're not playing Five Nights at Freddy's or anything like that, none of those kind of games. That being said, there are a few variants of that I'd love to play. There's one called One Night at Flumpty's, which is really beautifully done aesthetically. It's got a really nice cartoon hand-drawn aesthetic to it.
Yeah, right.
And that's really cool for me. Outside of that, there's also Bendy and the Ink Machine. That one has a bit more of your rounded, Unreal looking engine kind of one as well. It's the Five Nights at Freddy's kind of basic Blender looking characters. But it's a really nice aesthetic as well. But we don't really play any of that stuff. The stuff that we more play is your Resident Evils, and we played 7 pretty much most of the way through. We played a little bit of 8. We haven't finished it yet. But we've played a few here and there horror games, and they are good. I would argue Little Nightmares isn't really a horror game so much as it is an amazing experience. But we played that number 1, number 2, all the way through. The Forest, you could consider a horror game. We played that as well.
Oh, so I have played The Forest. That's one game I have played.
Honestly, with friends, I have a real big plan. I've got a couple of mates who are part of my stream team and friends in general, who will be doing a series of The Forest on YouTube shortly.
Nice.
Just to have, because I don't like to talk, which actually comes into another point later on in the podcast. I don't like to talk to friends on stream. One thing I hate, and I actually vehemently hate it, and I've had to really adjust myself, is ignoring chat. Is talking to someone else like we're doing now, instead of saying, hello there, what's going on there, Cockle? How you doing, Subrun? Welcome in, Bad Rants. How you guys going today? I hate not being able to do that. I really, really do. So sitting there with my low energy streamer voice, playing a shooting game or something, just doesn't work for me. So I really feel like there are situations where YouTube has a good amount of shine, and that's why we'll be doing games like The Forest on there, because it's you're there, you know what you're getting. You're going in there to get that, you know, that experience of like, you know, me and the boys going to get some beans, you know, like that's kind of like what you're expecting that, you know, you're like, it's not like it's just anything outside of what your expectation is. Like if you click on my Twitch stream, you're expecting to see me, and all of a sudden you've got some kid who's just sitting there talking to me, and you're like, who's this dickhead? Like, who's this guy? Like, yeah, it can really throw people off. So, yeah, like, Forest is one of those ones I would consider a horror game, absolutely. What else have we done? On the Imposter Hide game, we only played that really recently. That was really cool. So it was a Among Us variant that was created to play in the first perspective as a horror game. So you have to complete all the tasks as you do in Among Us. Except you're from a first-person perspective. So then there's no friends. It's only you versus the imposter. So you're running around the whole level trying to put the cables together, and you can hear it coming. It's actually a free game.
Is that still in like a cartoony sort of aesthetic, or is it more realistic?
It's more of a blender, like 3D version of it.
Okay, yeah.
That being said, the monster still looks like a monster, and like it still looks like the Among Us character with that thick booty and all that kind of stuff. Like they're still the same design. It's a whole different aesthetic, a whole different feel.
Really,
it does feel like
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like Alien Isolation in a way, because it's just you versus a monster chasing you.
Yeah.
And they don't move particularly fast, but they'll get you. They'll surprise you. You know, you'll be going through, and then they're there. You know. But yeah, so we've done a bit of that kind of stuff. But outside of that, you know, I like creepy more than I like scary. So games like Kindergarten, which is a game that I did on my YouTube channel fairly extensively, which it comes across as scary, but it's really... it comes across as sweet and nice, but then when you get into it, it's really just a game about like kids being killed at kindergarten, and it stops being fun and bright and starts being terrifying. You know, like one of the first things you can do is just that you go up to the janitor and he's like, "Don't touch me." And don't bother me. I'm busy. And if you talk to him again, he says, "Leave me alone. I'm busy." And if you talk to him again, he kills you with his shovel. It's really aggressive and violent. He like knocks you down, and then he just puts like the wooden end of the shovel just repeatedly in like your eye, and like
nice.
that, and then it's like you're dead. And I'm like, cool. That's a sprite I definitely wanted to see. But yeah, like, so I don't know. I like suspenseful stuff. I like creepy stuff a lot more than horror, straight up horror. And honestly, the pure reason is that until we move into the new office, I don't really have the facility to sit there and yell the way I want to, because I want to yell with horror games. I want to throw my chair. I want to like go like, you know, full on. And people criticize me for not really having reactions, and I'm like, I'm trying so hard not to have them, because they definitely exist. I'm trying so hard not to let them show up. But yeah, so I don't know. The question that I wanted to pose to you guys and yourself is that, do you think that horror games are a detriment when it comes to streaming? Because a lot of people, in my channel especially, people will come in and they'll be like, "What are we doing today?" And I'm like, "Well, but hey, we're going to play this horror game today." And they're like, "Oh man, I'll leave you on, but I don't really like horror games. They kind of get me. In a bit of a mood, and you know, for whatever reason, I don't like to think about murder at 11 o'clock at night, or whatever the case may be." So do you think they're a detriment or they're positive? Because on the other side of the coin, you have these people, again, like your Markipliers, like your Jacksepticeyes, like PewDiePie, who literally created the genre of gaming on the internet with Amnesia and games like Amnesia. Do you think that they are a positive or a negative to the streaming community?
I think overall they're positive, but it depends on your own sort of channel and what your own sort of content is. If you're like a variety streamer like yourself, you might find that there might be some people that don't like the horror games, so they'll tune out. You might gain some more supporters because you're playing horror games, but I think that's with every game, isn't it? Like just said in the chat, I was about to get on. That's what I was thinking when you're saying, is like, if there is a potential with any game that you decide to try out on any given night, that people are going to be like, "Oh, I want to play this in the future, therefore I don't want to see the game, so I'm just going to put you in the background and lurk," or it might be just a game that they've played before and don't like, or just whatever. And so it's not necessarily the horror element. Like that's that's the reason some people might not like scary games, so that might be why they leave. But there's different reasons why people won't watch you play certain games if you're variety. But in terms of just the horror genre on its own, like there's quite a lot of people that I know, even like a whole bunch of people that came over from Mixer too, that literally play horror games, and they've been able to, because they're sticking to that genre, they you know, obviously the people that have become part of their communities 100% like the horror games, so that's just how they built their communities on the horror. So you won't have people leaving because of certain games unless they, like I said before, unless they've like played the game or want to play the game and don't want to see the story part of it unfold so much. So no, I think it might come into play a little bit like when you're in a situation like you're going through now with the community that you've kind of built on certain things.
Yeah, interesting. Like honestly, because like the way that I look at it is that you're right, because when people will lurk, I will get people who will show up. I'll get people who will show up and they'll be like, oh, you're playing this game. Like last night with At Dead of Night. It's a niche game. And with niche games come niche communities. So you'll get people who have never been in your stream before, but it's really weird. I can't ever imagine, maybe I'm not, because I'm not a viewer, but I can't imagine myself going to Twitch and going, you know what, let's see who's playing Mario. You know what I mean? Like, and let's do it. I can't imagine that, but people do it. And they do it with niche games that they enjoy, and you know they do it so they can help people. Like when I played Subnautica for the first time, there were these couple of people who came in. One who I've kept forever since then, and one who came in and was the most helpful person I've ever had on streams. But they left the second that I stopped playing the game. But yeah, it's real weird because like the people would come in just to help me play Subnautica, or people would come in like last night just to help me play At Dead of Night. They're like, oh, I'm playing it right now. It's so scary. I need help. I can't do it. And I'm just going to watch you for a little bit to get my nerves down a little, you know. And yeah, you are right in the fact that any game will do that though. Like any game will do that. Any game will bring its own people across, its niche people. I'm sure the same thing works for all the heads who play like your Apex and just be trolls. You know, you have certain trolls who will just come in and they'll just be like, oh, you're playing this, you're so shit, how come you're at bronze? I don't know how the levels work in Apex, but I assume, like, you know, there's lots of, you know, you big scrub, 1v1 me in real life, you know, all that kind of garbage. But that in itself is also that exposure. It's also that viewership coming in. So you've really got to sit there and think about, like, I was more so wondering on the genre itself, because I know the genre itself can really alienate people. So the question, I guess, will evolve into is, will you play popular horror games? Will you see an upturn in your viewership as opposed to playing a niche horror game where you probably might get one or two? So where is the level where your viewership that you have constantly drops down to lurkers only, but then the game itself's viewership comes up to match it? Like, what's that level at? You know, is that in the niche games or is that in the popular games? You know, because when I've played Resident Evil, I've seen nobody, like literally nobody at all come through and say, yo, I love Resident Evil Village. And in those situations, all I saw was a dip. Like, all I saw was, oh, guys, I'm going to lurk for a bit. I don't really like these games. I didn't see people come in and saying, oh, you're playing Resident Evil, are you?
Yeah, okay.
Like, yeah.
Is that like such a popular game on Twitch that maybe that was like, you know, there's quite a lot of people in the directory there if people are searching through streams that they didn't quite get to yours? Or I don't know what the directory's like. I don't know what your sort of viewership would put you in that directory.
My viewership, I typically only stream when my viewership puts me, as we've said before, in that top 6. Like, depending on the game. Like, there are some games, like we do GTA Chaos, there's no way on those days that I'm going to be in that top 20. Maybe if I'm lucky, the top 20. But that's just because there are people who've got, you know, thousands of people in their streams, and then hundreds, and then 100, and then there's me at 100. You know, like, so there's a ways to go before we're kind of hitting that top 6 on games like GTA. But that's kind of the only one that I will do that for. And it's because it is a niche as well, and people love to mess with me, and, you know, like, it has its own rewards too. But yeah, I'm not sure when it comes to that. I honestly don't have the answer. So that's why I was curious.
No, like, I think what you're doing is like what I would do too if you were going to try out different types of games, is you're making sure that my viewership right now is going to put me sort of in that first couple of rows in the directory, and if it is, and then you're still not seeing like you feel like your normal viewership then drops off, but you're not seeing any new people enter just through being in that directory. That's kind of a bit strange to me, I think. Like, I would have thought, like you probably predicted as well, that you're probably gonna, if you're up there, you're gonna have some of the regular or the diehard sort of horror or Resident Evil people say are gonna drop in,
yeah, absolutely,
and hang out. Because with different games, I've had the same thing. Like when I had the Destiny run back in the day, if I dropped off and played another game, I'd have people coming in going, "Oh, you're not playing Destiny today? Oh yeah, have a nice day. I'll see you tomorrow," kind of thing. Or just earlier this year, just playing on the Goa channel, people started to show up every night to watch me play Elite Dangerous, and I started to get into that. But then I wanted to go play a different game because I'm only really streaming once a week at the moment. So, and then as soon as I did that, those people, I had the same people. Like Elite Dangerous seems to have like one of those communities where there's people that just live in that game outside of their real life, and they're always either playing the game or they're watching people play the game, and they love helping new people out too. And that's where I was at. I was new, and as soon as you put on another game, don't see those people anymore.
Gone.
Which is, it's understandable that people watch.
They've got no obligation to be there.
Like I said before, people watch what they want to watch, and you've just got to. I like the challenges you're always trying, like we're doing now. We're trying to figure out like our own little algorithms of how our streams are going to catch on.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely correct. Like it really is how it is. Like the people who will come in, they will always come in for those games. And it's really, really strange that like that's sort of what we do. If you burn it down to its base level, that's kind of what we do. But you don't think about that. Because a lot of people just focus on playing the game they want to play. But at the baser level of what it is, we have to build a connection within sort of 10 seconds of someone coming into your stream. So you have to be able to provide something different that they haven't seen before when it comes to the content. And that becomes difficult when they are there for only that game. So you've really got to provide something different. When all they do is watch or play that game, you've got to do something crazy interesting. And that all comes back to the streamer. As we've said 1,000 times before, that all comes back to the content and how you provide the content and all that kind of stuff. And that's why all of the I say it every week, I know, but that's why all the shooter people never get that launch, because they're doing nothing different. Well, there is no difference between one guy playing Destiny Crucible to another guy playing Destiny Crucible, because they're all sitting there in their little corner just doing the thing like this, playing the game, and that's it. Like there's nothing else further to it. At the same time, when it comes to your viewership, you do have to be aware, like Bad has just said, that you can't cater for everyone, and that some people will stay no matter what, which you love, and that's what you ultimately want, is you want those people who are there for you. Some people will just drop off. They will. But the question, I guess, related specifically to horror, because horror is a very dynamic and interesting niche in that people, it does really click on people's like deep dark fear, the kind of person you're going to be dating when you take them to a horror movie on the first date. And the same thing applies to games and watching games online. This is that the kind of person who'll be coming into the stream if they're coming in to watch horror movies every night, so then they're watching you play horror games every night. I just don't know if the benefit is as good as what you may potentially lose out on,
Interesting fact, just why you mentioned that. My wife's first date they ever went to the movies. Gave her the choice: Alien versus Predator or Wimbledon. I think it was a Kirsten Dunst love movie based around tennis. We went to Alien versus Predator on her choice. Good, very good. Onto a winner straight away.
But that's what I'm saying. And like for me, the question has, my current juggle is really about like what people want to see, even though they tell me, I just want to see you. And I love that. I believe that too. Absolutely. But the juggle comes from me seeing, okay, so yes, the ones who are going to be there every week, they do just want to see me and they do just want to get around me. But for the rest, I want to make sure that I'm providing something interesting, and does that mean that I play safe games like Marbles or Jackbox, which are full interactive games that I know will get viewership, but will be very hollow and drop off quickly? Or do I want to play games that might not drive viewership, but the diehard people may stay or may go? You know, there's two negatives to that, because not only might you not have extra new viewers, but you might lose some of your potential current viewers.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where I'm at with this question, is like, is it worth it at the end to play those kind of games, knowing that you're probably going to alienate, not forever, but temporarily, some of your mainstay viewers, and that you might not get anything back for it? And the more I talk myself into this conversation, the less I think that streaming is the place for horror.
I don't think. Yeah, I think you're probably in this with your stream. I think it's probably not. I would, at a guess, I would say probably no, like, because you don't, everything else that you play is so far from horror, even though you're playing a different variety of different things on there. It's just a totally different ball game to horror. I think horror maybe suits, it depends, like, if you're playing horror all the time, or just in the other games that you play, you know, you can kind of know what sort of community you're cultivating, like, and whether they're going to be into like that really sort of adult stuff, like over the top sort of gore, or, you know, you might swear a lot, and you might have a semi, I don't know, I want to say semi-toxic, but you know, you have that sort of community where you kind of just know that they'll like you playing some scary games and some gore and stuff, or you're just a horror streamer. I think where you're at, where you're just playing that stuff that's so far from horror, as a variety streamer, horror might not be the way to go. And, you know, unless it's sort of like, you know, like what you're talking about, like the creepy sort of, not the gory stuff and not the monster stuff,
atmospheric stuff.
The atmospheric stuff, where it then does become like, they're not going to see anything that's going to give them too many nightmares, but it's there for, you know, same as YouTube, probably they're going to be there for the over the top reactions from you, as from watching you squeal, maybe. But, you know, you got to try it out, and, you know, if it doesn't seem to be working, then you put that in your back pocket and think about it later. I don't think as a variety streamer you're doing anything wrong by trying out horror and trying out other games, because like you said, you don't want to, even though marbles and those interactive games are really, really good, you want to probably be able to be just as interactive playing any type of game, and make it so that you get to a point, and, you know, you're 12 months in, you're still learning as well as you go with the with that side of things. Once you can get to the point where it doesn't matter what's on there, it still feels the same all the time. And there's probably a little bit difference at the moment between playing like a Marbles and playing a Resident Evil, obviously. It's kind of trying to bring the content so that it's the interaction part of it's kind of, but I think it would be pretty hard. I'm with you there. I think that's probably a bit too hard for using you as an example, I reckon. I can understand why.
I think that the biggest hurdle for me when it comes to games is it's not so much the game itself, but it's knowing that I'm doing something that's right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like, because I just don't know if it's going to be, and I'm not going to. And because I'm really new to streaming in general, like, I don't have that breadth of experience that a lot of people have, you know, to be able to do this stuff like on a real big consistent basis, like, you know, like having done it for months and months and months. You know, so it's all still relatively new, even though I kind of understand, you know, my direction and how I want to do things and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's not until after you've done the game that you realize that it wasn't good. And that's a pitfall to fall into as well. And you see, one bad day can make you feel like garbage. Like, I've had a couple of not bad days, but not great days either this week, and they have honestly, like, thrown me for a loop. Yesterday we got hit with about 1,600 follow bots, which was not great right in the middle of a stream, and it really threw me off, and it was already kind of a rough stream at that point anyway. We hadn't kind of hit the numbers that we need to hit to be consistently getting what we're trying to do, and eventually things turned around, but it took a lot of mental strain on me. Like, it really did put a lot on there. So that plays a big factor in what I play. Like, it really, really does. You know, I sit there and I'm like, should I be playing this game? Should I be testing the waters and feeling things out, you know? But then if I don't, at the same time, if I play it safe, a lot of that time, I end up picking, like, games, and then people aren't there anyway. Like, you know, like the ones who I expect to hang around because they want to be there, they might not talk, or they may not interact. You know, if I go and I play like Minecraft again, like a classic that I played on my channel for a long time, all of a sudden the people who have been speaking constantly for the past couple of weeks, they're not talking because they've seen me play it a bunch. So it's a really, really hard thing to juggle, and I think that's really interesting. You know, I think that's just getting deep dive into like the mental side of streaming.
It sounds horrible.
It does. Oh, yeah. And look, it's not great. Like, it really isn't, especially with a kid here now. Like, there's a lot of like ancillary pressure. You know, and this achievement, this stupid mother achievement that is required by Twitch to get the application in. Oh my goodness. I think my average is 92 at the moment, right? But because it's not over a 30-day period, my current average is like 73.9 because I haven't hit the part in the month or in the last 30 days yet where I started to get those big 100 streams. So I can't apply. I can't do anything like that. So I'm sitting here watching the clock tick away constantly. And that just adds to that stress, you know?
Is it... what was I going to say then? I've just kind of lost my thought. No, it was something about the partnership, like, is it... This isn't what I originally was thinking about, but with you coming back after just a couple of days off, and we've talked about this before, about how hard it can be to take time off knowing that you're... Because it's a mental thing. Like, you probably, in the back of your mind, probably thought, there's a chance that when I come back, there's going to be less... I don't know. Did you have that thought? Yeah, because
my stress levels, like my anxiety in general, they're like, I'm going to come back to nothing. And I'm like, come on now, let's go. And my Discord has been really popping lately. Like, conversation's been flowing. The last couple of days, not much. And I'm like, shit, it's all broken. It's all broken. No one wants to hang out. No one wants to talk. It's ruined. And like, that's anxiety talking, but it's real. You know, like we got so far. We've killed it. My community is amazing, but it still doesn't stop you being stressed. Absolutely, when it doesn't go the way that you think it will. Like,
and so I've got like no doubt that you're going to get to the partner ticket at some point. I just to try and delve into it, because I've never been at that point like where you're at right now, and a lot of people in chat probably haven't either. Like, and they've probably got dreams of being in the point where they might be about to click the apply button. So. For you, what does it mean to you to get partnership sooner rather than later? What's the thought process for you behind getting it sort of now?
It creates a whole new dynamic with my relationship to Twitch. So it allows me to create opportunities for everybody who's in that stream team. It allows me to create opportunities for everybody and for myself. I've always said that one of the biggest things when it comes to streaming for me is being able to say, okay, if I could get to the point where my subs don't matter because we're able to approach brands and get brand deals and then not worry about that so much, then my community can then spend that money and focus on, you know, if that stuff comes to me, awesome, I can improve the stream, all that kind of stuff. But they can take that and they can improve their own things, or they can follow and improve someone else's life. Or the other thing is that once we get to the point where I don't have to worry about that side of Twitch, which I hate talking about anyway, it's aberrant, the money side of things. But if I ever get to the point where I don't need to worry about who subscribed to my channel or not, the money from subscribers, I have always said, will pay for my mods, because mods are completely the most amazing asset on streams. They do so much work for me in a channel like mine where there's like 100 people talking and there's a lot of heads talking as well who come in and troll. Those mods to just straight up ban people, straight up set rules, straight up set commands halfway through the stream, whatever it might be. They deserve it, you know, and then putting out fires, listening to my bullshit after streams and talk about how I think we're failing and how I'm shit at this and all that kind of stuff. Putting up with me in all those assets. Wit coming in and lurking. He lives in America right now. It is stupid o'clock in the morning. It's not even 7 o'clock yet for him. And he's come in and lurked because he's one of my friends. He's a mod and he puts work in. He grinds like me. Which, when I say that, I mean like he grinds like no one I know. because it's me. And he does, like, he really, really does. So, like, to be able to go to those guys and say, man, you're the best, and here's this, that's awesome for me.
Yeah,
but as far as the partner tick itself goes, it opens the door to sponsors. It opens the door to one thing I really like to do. Last night we got 3 people their affiliate level likes or follows, because they came into the stream and they're having a chat and they're getting around and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, hey, do you stream? And they're like, yeah, I've just started. I'm only streaming to about 2 people. I'm at like 20 or 30 or whatever it is. And I'm like, all right, stop the stream. Stop the stream, pause game. Anchor Club, people here in the chat right now, can I get you please just to click on this, assemble around this person? And we have a command on my channel which does like this whole Bangerz graphic, and I think I can prompt it. That. So it comes up like that, and it does like this whole like assemble graphic on the stream, and I'm like, can we just get a few people to go and do that? And they're like, I'm so thankful, oh my gosh, we've got to feel, I didn't think I'd get there for months. Can you imagine the power of being able to be one of these people? I'm looking at my stream list here, my followed channels now. The most I've got online is 812 for Dark Viper. Can you imagine being at that level and someone comes in and they've got like 20 people in their followers list, and I'm like, right guys, we've got 800 people in here, and then bang, 200 straight away. Just go and like this one person. You blow their mind. You make a friend for life. And I want everyone to win. Like, at the end of the day, I want everyone to win. I want everyone to succeed. Our whole credo over in what I do is if we all work together, we can all win. And I really, really believe that. So being able to provide that, that's something special.
Yeah.
So that's what that does for me. The tick does that for me. The tick gives me the facility to open that up a little bit. It also allows me to put some power behind the stream team and say, look guys, I'm a partnered streamer with Twitch. I have a stream team of about 120 people at the moment. It's still growing. Can you give me 120 samples of whatever it is? And then you will have 120 people advertising your product on stream every day. That's not a small amount of power, that's not at all. That's a large amount of power. Even if I only stream to 10 people, those 10 people might be 5 different people who might see on my streams. Mm-hmm. They might be 2 different people, but then those 2 people might come from a different stream with the same deal. And all of a sudden that net widens so huge. For a company like GamerSups or G Fuel or Elgato, that can be like make or break when it comes to things. So, like that's a whole new like revenue service right there. And yeah, being able to do that and provide that to the team would be amazing, know. And not just that, obviously there's a part that is, you have to be a little bit selfish in the end of the day. There's a part that would make my life better, my family's life better. We just had a kid. I don't want to scrape for food. I'd like to be able to eat whatever, whenever. I'd like to be able to, buy a Monster after driving around in the morning, at the shops, just get home. A man should have alcohol in his fridge every day. My dad says that. I have none. I'd like to be able to do that. Just go get myself a 6-pack or something, that'd be really nice.
Yes, and that's kind of what I was like asking. This what's an interesting perspective, because I wanted to make sure that you got this out there in case there's anyone listening there. Like, for me, if I was to be in that position, I don't have that urgency that you do, because I have a job outside of this, whereas you're coming from the other side of the coin. So there's like another perspective here that I wanted to make sure that everyone hears if they're in that same situation where they're trying to make it. Maybe you don't have a job and you're streaming, and this is what you want to do, or you're going to give this a shot for 6 months or whatever it might be. Like, there is extra, and you're going through it now. There is a whole lot of stress in that, because you're reliant on it at this point.
Look at my eyes.
Yeah.
Look at these.
Yeah. Look at the bags, guys. But that's what you're going to need to do it. You know what you're in for right now. So. But it still doesn't make it any easier when those nights come along where your viewership might not be quite as high as what you're expecting in that. So, especially when you're pushing for a partner, like usually that worry wouldn't matter as much. You'd be just like, oh, we'll just move on to the next game. But you're in a numbers game right now too, so.
And it can be crushing. And you also don't want to come across as the guy who's in it for money, like, because you don't want. I'm not that guy, but at the same time, we need food. So there's a fine line to walk between saying, hey guys, this is my job, and hey guys, would you mind subscribing? And that line is a difficult line to walk. It really, really is, because you can go and you can subathons, man, they make me feel sick. They make me feel physically ill. The idea of a subathon, the idea of the donations thing we did recently for the baby shower, it makes me feel a little bit sick. Asking people to subscribe makes me feel terrible. If people say how much to do this on stream, I can't answer. Even when it comes to graphic design, people are like, bro, oh, can you design my emotes? How much do you want? I legitimately struggle with that. I really do, because I want everyone to win. I want to support everyone. Yeah. I'm like, man, anywhere between $50 and like a couple of hundred, because some people pay a couple of hundred if they want to, and I can't give a certain answer. And it's anxiety, definitely anxiousness about it. Not that I don't believe in my work. Look at my artwork. My artwork is cool, like, but it's more so because I don't want to put pressure on anyone else. I don't want anyone else to go out of their way, out of their pocket, all that kind of stuff. I know I have an unread message from one of our friends in the chat here talking about like computer stuff, and I would love to get back to you, but there's a part of my brain that I was at the hospital when we had the conversation, and the other part of my brain is like, yeah, but now I feel really anxious about that conversation, and I hate that feeling because I don't want that feeling, but it's one that I can't shake, and it comes from being a giver, not a taker. Like,
yeah, you're definitely the complete opposite of your used car salesman.
yeah, exactly right. Like, man, I actually got railroaded when I was a kid by a car salesman. They made me buy a car that was way out of my league. But yeah, like, legitimately, I struggle with asking for things. I struggle with accepting things. So put me in a situation where that's literally my revenue.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? You know, like,
you love torturing yourself, I guess.
It becomes the question, and that's hard. And now we've gone completely off track, obviously, on a massive tangent here.
No, it's all good talk, I think it's all good. I think people would be enjoying listening to this. Well, I'm enjoying it, so hopefully everyone else is.
Hey, what do we say about doing things just for your own enjoyment? We get in trouble for saying that usually. Yeah. But, you know, it's definitely an interesting perspective. There is a lot of fear. I think that fear is something that a lot of people feel as well. That being said, you get people at like the next level above mine, and they'll sit here and they'll talk to their mates, and they won't even look at the screen. They'll be looking like this the whole time, and they'll just be playing their game, and there'll be nothing at all for the chat. And they'll get subs pop up on the thing, and they won't care. They'll get follows pop up on the thing, and they won't care. They'll get donos, and if it's a big enough dono, maybe they'll care, but they don't care. I don't even know how I could fathom doing that. I really, really don't.
Yeah, totally against your nature. And like, that's kind of where you're unique. If anyone out there is looking at, like, if you don't like being the type of person, same as Shippy here, that can sit there and go, oh, please sub to me, I need the money, is that if you look at Shippy's community and look at his streams, like, they're interactive streams, you get to be involved in them a lot of the time. And then you've got a absolutely flourishing Discord, which is full of supportive community members. And you've got your stream team stuff and the Anchor Club that's going on at the moment. Like, you're not just asking for a sub. There's a sub provided there, but do you find value in what someone, like, using you as an example, and I'm trying to let the chat here know that look at what Shippy's doing, and if you want to provide enough value for people so that you don't feel as bad, like, you're not asking for it, but you won't feel bad if people do sub, because you know that that you're providing the value, you know what they're getting. You're not just subbing to a channel so that you can watch somebody because you just enjoy them for entertainment purposes, which some viewers like that. Some people don't get involved in the communities and just like watching. And that's where you draw in the type of people that you have drawn into your community, because they love the community side of it, they love the interaction side of it, and a lot of them are small streamers too, so they're all joining in so that you can all, as you say, we can all win together. So that's kind of one thing that you can do if you're a small streamer out there listening right now, and you don't know where you fit in all of the world and what value you can provide, is look at some of the things that other streamers like Shippy are doing and say, you know, if I want people to sub to me, or I want people to donate to me, because at the end of the day, behind the scenes, I'm thinking I need to make this a living, or for whatever reason, or I want to make this a living. You need to, you know, look at those examples and look at the ways that you can provide value to a community to draw them in.
Yeah, well, that's why I try to offer so much, you know. That's why it's not just a matter of like here's a sponsor, here's a sub. It's like, if you sub to the channel, you get a whole bunch of emotes. Everyone does that. That's the first step. But you also get access to the Discord. We have a great mental health section where we help people every single day. And it's not just me talking. It's people who are trained. It's people who are not trained. It's people who are there to offer advice. The second something goes wrong in my stream, Lifeline posts go up. People stop what they're doing and they ask questions. If someone comes in having a bad day, the community itself is strong. There's sections for looking for artists. There's sections for like everything. There's setting up a stream, learning how to use Touch Portal. All this stuff that people can't find directly, easily. Like, we don't just offer the one thing, and that comes down to me again, giving, because I don't think that do I think that I'm worth, maybe I do, I don't know. I was going to say I don't think that I'm worth the sub alone by itself, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that I am. I just think that I want to be able to provide more value than what people would get if it's just a sub. Because again, what's the difference between me and 50 other Just Chatting streamers? Yeah. Like I said, like last week, there are 800,000 people above me at this point. What's the difference between me and any of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe there
like
isn't one.
The amount you pay for it, like there is conjecture. We were going to talk a bit. I don't know if we'll get time for that, but we'll see how we go.
Hopefully we do. We should do that next.
The Twitch, how much it costs to sub. Like, although, and that's another point that I'll make. So I'll save that one. But you know, spending less than $10 for per month. It's not per week. It's not per day. Like per month, you already spend that, wasting it on stuff all over the place. If you're actually involved in somebody's community, I would urge you to support that person, no matter whose community you're on as a viewer. If you're finding value in a community and you're spending a lot of time in this community, you're making friends in the community, you're getting support for whatever it is that you're doing from that community, it's absolutely worth supporting that person and showing them that you value them, and how much value you bring to them by a little sub. It's only a little sub too, like, and it goes a long way to. It's not just a oh, if we get 5,000 of these, then that person can be a full-time streamer. It's like what you're talking about. It's all numbers to get to the type of level where you can maybe get a partnership somewhere, either on Twitch or with other what do you call it, brands and stuff like that, so that you can then not only support yourself without having to rely on the subs from the community, but also to give back to your community even further. So it keeps going round and round. Yeah. And support comes in heaps of different ways as well. Like, it really, really does. And this will be the final point that I really want to touch on before we talk about the other stuff, because I think the other stuff's important and it's a hot topic right now, so we should definitely speak about it. Like, support comes in many different fashions. Like, yes, subscriptions help a lot, especially when it's your full-time job, especially when you rely on that every single month to hit a certain amount of people every month. I have a number and it's on my streams, and if we don't hit that number every month, we currently got maternity leave for my partner, so there's a small amount of money that goes there that pretty much covers rent. Everything at the moment else that we get through is from stream, so we can cover rent, which is not very much either at the moment, but we can cover that and we can survive on that. But food, activities, upgrades, the works, all of that's coming through there right now. So yes, there are so many ways to support. They don't have to be subs. Viewing, being there on the stream, the number one thing. Following, amazing. Subscriptions, life-changing. Gifting subs, man, that's a whole nother level. Donations, again, the same deal. Even biddies, like, it's the ways that you can support a streamer are far and wide. It doesn't have to be financial. Yeah, it really, really doesn't. It's just retweeting, going to my socials, clicking on a link here. There are so many to click on. You know, like, going and getting around that stuff is huge. Like, supporting that way. A retweet goes a long way. Did you know that every time someone subscribes to my YouTube channel, I get a subscription on YouTube? That's pretty cool. And also, it's hell free. That's great. You know, like, being able to provide those extra things, like... And people getting behind that all that means is that you get more growth. Following the Discord helps with that too, you know, because every time I go live, you go, oh, Shippy's live, awesome, you know. So no, you don't have to support financially. No one ever does, but
there are a lot of things that you can do that will really help the streamer.
Yeah. Sorry, I realized during that I didn't mean to make it sound like you should go and support monetarily
absolutely
your
not.
favorite streamer. You definitely can just be a part of the community for free.
Exactly right. And I didn't want to call you out on that either, because I don't think that's what you meant.
No.
I was just saying that the facility is there to support in so many ways that aren't financial. Like there are people who come into my stream and they just provide fan art. They come in, they draw really cute pictures, and they post them on the Discord, and they make my heart melt, and they're amazing, and they give me confidence on days where I have none. For my birthday celebration, a bunch of streamers and friends and just people, sometimes some of them not even streamers, they recorded a bunch of videos. It's on my YouTube right now, and it brought me to tears. It was just saying how I'd saved their life or how I'd helped them get through a dark time.
Yeah, amazing.
And they sung songs and they drew pictures. And it's, like that stuff is just as amazing as your $7.99, which is what I wanted to bring up next, because Twitch has changed the way that we get paid and the amount that we get paid.
They have.
Shall we do the Around the Grounds?
Yes, so let's have a look. Let's go over to Around the Grounds. Had to press that button twice. So in the Around the Grounds here, I'll first touch on that Twitch point. Twitch has released their new, let's say about a month ago, they said that they were going to start adjusting the cost amount that it is to sub to a channel, depending on the country you come from, based on the cost of living. They've now got around to Australia, and Australian Twitch, I believe, like, you might have to correct me, but it's gone from $8.99 or something down to $7.99, so roughly about $1 less than what you used to pay for before for a sub here. Do you want to touch on that one first before we move on to the next points? You probably got some more insight into that than me.
Are you going to touch on the new system in place for people who don't get the base level and stuff like that, or is that not included?
Oh no, I haven't actually, but I have read about that.
So
if you
I can
want to
explain that there as well. Yeah. So Twitch has integrated a new system in place where essentially what it means is that if you for one, because of the way that the world is at the moment, they're lowering the price locally. They've lowered it in a few countries already, so the cost of your subscriptions are now less. I believe it is $7.99 now instead of $8.99. Sure, it's $1, right? Sure, it's $1. That might not seem like much, but when you have 500 subscriptions a month, $1 out of every one, all of a sudden you're getting a bit less money, and that it becomes a thing. We don't get that money anyway. As most of you know, Twitch takes about 11,000% of the actual amount that we get. It is a stupidly large amount. But to their absolute credit, Twitch have created this new thing. It is essentially a way to incentivize content and provide you with a way to not starve. If you're in the situation like myself where this is work and this is your job, I'm just trying to do this if I can. I can't show you without showing revenue, so I might leave what I was going to do. Actually, you know what? I'll take a screenshot of it. And I'll switch to my display. But what it does essentially is there's this thing called the Creator Revenue Adjustment Incentive. And what that does is that, don't look at my wallpaper. It is my desktop is a mess right
Everyone
now.
Look at his wallpaper.
Can I make it full screen? Okay, the games is fine. That's all right. So if I go down to here and show you real quick. No, don't put my post office box in my stream chat. Go display capture. That's going to show that screen there. You know what? That's fine. It doesn't have any of the stuff on it. It has who's online right now on my. God damn it! All right, so here, for example, this is not everyone's. This is just for me. So
you have to move your head. Or the window over.
Or the window. I'll do that. Right. So I can't bollocks. Where are we?
I'm going to zoom in too.
That should have just done the thing I asked it to, but that's fine. Okay, so there we go. So as you guys can see here, it says that every day this gets updated, and what it says right now is that as long as I provide 66 hours of content online, at a very baseline, I will make this much money. And what that means is that if for whatever reason I don't get the subs that I would have got last month, or I don't get the revenue that I'm expecting to get from last month, and it drops down to a very low amount, no matter what, we're still going to be getting that. So it creates an incentive for people to know no matter what happens, they're still going to be able to get that amount. Now that does change every day. So every day that does adjust. If you get more or less or whatever the case may be, it does roll through that. So yeah, all it says is that you need to be eligible by streaming for 66 live hours. So that means that in essence there, as long as you're being a part of the community and you're contributing to Twitch in general, you're eligible to get your revenue adjusted. And that will make a big difference for people who will see a significant drop off, because there will be people who will still get the same amount of subs a month, whether it's 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever it is.
And was there a rule of something like you had to have 80% of your subs come from people that have been adjusted? Was it something like that involved with that?
So essentially what it is because the way that they've set the system up is that you're getting less money overall now, right? So unless you get more people gifting subs or unless you get more people subscribing, people who have been getting the same, say there's a stream that makes just over the threshold. I don't know how much that is sub-wise. Yeah. Say it's 100 subs, right? So say there's a streamer who gets just on that every month. Nothing changes about their situation at all, except for the same subscribers, cousin, uncle, Spio, Theo, Con, Stavros, and Nana, they all still subscribe every month, right? But no one else new does. All of a sudden, they go getting from $100 a month, which is just over their threshold, down to 90 because they're losing that 10%.
Yeah.
So and what that will mean, in essence, is that they don't get a payout that month. So it's in place to protect people and allow them to still make the money they might want to make. This is an automatic thing in your creator dashboard there. Anyone can find it. It is available to anyone who is on the platform and receiving revenue at the moment. But it's just a way to protect people because they know that, well, they don't know. It's honestly probably going to be the opposite of what happens. They think that by having more people, by having the same amount of people subscribe, that people will lose money. When in truth, if the subs are a little bit cheaper, there is more of an incentive for people to gift subs. And there's more of an incentive to grow your subscription base because it will be cheaper to do so. So I think they're just kind of in a little bit of damage control because they're like, well, I don't want people to get mad that we're making it cheaper. I don't want the talent, like the people on this side of the camera, to get mad that we're making it cheaper because they're going to lose money. So what we'll do is we'll give them a bone, even though it's like far less than you'd earn anyway, at least sort of in my example. It would still be enough to keep me above water if it got real bad. And that's huge. For those months, there were a few months, not to get too deep into the details, but there was a few months earlier in the year where I was making less than I showed on screen now for a full month of work with, and that's not, that incentive is nowhere near sort of what I would do typically on a month's basis anyway, but way less than that. So if that incentive had existed months ago, I would have been a lot better off during those months. I think that's what they're trying to protect in the end.
Yeah. And it's for a period of about 12 months before that incentive will disappear then.
Yeah. So it's going to be going through... Yeah, there's going to be a big adjustment period because obviously they're going to roll it across the whole platform and they just haven't figured out how they're going to do it yet. So as they slowly but steadily roll it out, then I assume within a year's time, that incentive will probably disappear again and people will just have to live with it. It's like any kind of cost adjustment, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, McDonald's 30 cents cones used to cost 30 cents. Now they're like 70 cents or $1 now. I don't even know. I don't eat McDonald's, but like they used to be cheap and now they're not. And it's like anything. And
so this is what my point would be on all of that is that you said, Twitch is doing, to their credit, they've put this adjustment sort of scenario in there for people for 12 months. But the whole, to me, the whole thing that's been in the content creation sphere at the moment, the big thing is, and has been for a little while now, is how much people are getting ripped off by Twitch in the first place. The fact that it's a 50% revenue share with them for every sub and that you get from anyone from the community. So if people didn't know it already, when you are subbing your $8.99 before, only it's 50% of that goes to the streamer.
It's even more, funnily enough. We get even less. I think that when it was $8.99, I think streamers ended up getting about $2.60, $2.70.
And so where does if it's supposed to be 50% revenue, is there another tax because we're in Australia, or is it more to the, if people are subbing on mobile, is there more costs coming? Because I know that Apple takes 30%, but
there is a difference, based on where you subscribe from. From subscribing from the same country, we get a 50% share, I believe. When you start moving into euro conversion, pound conversion, and USD conversion, there are times where they get less, and so therefore we get less. Funnily enough, we get the best cut out of Prime subscriptions. So if you've got more of a European-based subscription group, you might have been seeing a lot less than 50% of the revenue share. Exactly right. So it sucks, but...
And so what I was going to say about that is, like, it's like when you look at all the other platforms, it's just ridiculous, but I won't go into comparing other platforms, but just focusing on Twitch itself. Instead of doing the adjustment thing, where obviously Twitch is going to cop some of that money on the chin for 12 months to try and keep you earning what you were earning, as long as you stream your 66 hours and people keep subbing to you, they're going to make up the difference of what you're supposed to have lost or whatever. They're going to give you some sort of adjustment. So they've said, we're going to wear some of that on the chin, but it would have been such a great marketing ploy, and potentially could have ended up working in their favor if more people would then subscribe, is that if they made the sub cheaper by, like, maybe the adjustments they made might not have been as much as what they are, but let's say they did and it was the same adjustment because the cost of living goes down $1. Why couldn't they have made that the time when they adjusted revenue share, so that now they only take 40% or whatever? So you would still just purely off your own back earn your same revenue share, and now Twitch has adjusted it like the whole industry is calling for them to do, to bring them more. It wouldn't even bring them in line with the other platforms, but it would be such a huge, like, I think, media sort of hurrah, they've done it, like, it'd be a huge thing.
It'd be a big thing for them, like, financially too, probably.
I think it'd be interesting to see whether they would, in the long term, make more money from well, obviously they probably had analysts work on an idea like that, I'd say, and they decided they wouldn't make more money, so... But it would have been a good
obviously
time to do
there must have been rules to it. But as far as I'm aware, Amazon doesn't really even particularly... Twitch doesn't even touch the water. It doesn't even disturb the water, like the revenue that they make from Twitch.
No.
Like, it is such an inconsequential amount compared to how much they make from Amazon in general. That it's barely even part of the strategy to focus on how much money they make through it. So I don't have the answers for you. I don't work for them, unfortunately, outside of Twitch. But I don't know why. I don't know why.
One day it might happen if they can fix their ad platform. Maybe they'll start giving it back the other way.
Yeah, maybe.
Won't hold our breath.
What's next?
Okay, so the next I had on here was a bit more of YouTube analysis. We talked about YouTube a little bit last week, and then we discovered that we didn't quite know a lot about YouTube and the whole live streaming part of the YouTube platform itself. So I've done some research this week, but first off, I have some news on YouTube. They've created a new way to support creators on there called a super thanks, and much like their super chats, which is it's basically a way to send like a donation, like you can now on Twitch or other platforms, with a comment attached to it. So you're basically attaching a monetary value to your chat comment in order to get noticed. It's a way of supporting the streamer, but also a way to get noticed by the bigger streamers, obviously, that have a lot going on in their chat. Now, super thanks is something that you can do to an edited or a previously recorded or a edited VOD that you put up on the platform. So you can go into a VOD if you watch live streams that way. Like I said, some of the bigger people will watch VODs later on, like I mentioned last week that I do. Now you can send a super thanks, is what they'll call it, in chat. So you send a donation on a VOD, and this will work across all videos on YouTube, not just the live streaming gaming sort of side of things, like what we're talking about. So now any YouTube video that you go and watch, and it could be the VOD of a live streamer or a edited video of a streamer, where you can go and make a super thanks and send a donation to them, increasing the likelihood that if you're a creator, you're probably going to want to check in on all of your super thanks during the week and make sure you respond to all of them too. So it's just a way to get a response out of the creator as well. So I've had more YouTube news to come back to, but what do you reckon about that one, Shippy?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's cool. Honestly, it just feels like a you know, it's kind of sitting along that Tinder line, isn't it? Like, I never had to use that particularly.
I was going to say, I
kind
don't
of
know what you're talking about, man.
yeah. There's a thing called a super like, right, where you have to pay to be able to give them out. As far as I know, you have to buy them in like blocks for whenever you're tuning up X amount of people. You buy like 10 of them, and they allow you to be seen visibly in a way that normally wouldn't be seen.
Yeah, okay.
So you can say like, all right, so if I send this out of the 400 people that are also messaging this person, my like will appear prominent as opposed to everything else, and my comment will get pushed to the top. And I assume it's just sort of a similar thing with that. And you know, that's good. If people want to pay the money to do that, I've never had a problem with people paying extra to get something that they want to do. You know, like, I think that's just another way to incentivize growth and gains. And obviously there are some YouTubers who don't need it. And there was a big thing about that with the crypto recently, the big controversy with the Phase House and the cryptocurrency and everything, where a bunch of people made very small amounts of money, but essentially absolutely bunch of their fans out of money. Like peanuts compared to the money they make, like 30 grand when they're making millions of dollars. So not necessarily, you know, maybe it's not important for those bigger creators, but for the smaller creators, huge.
Yeah.
Massive. So yeah, that's kind of my feeling on that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for me, I think it's just really cool that they're introducing all these little features. It's on a weekly basis at the moment, it seems, with YouTube, but they're all just, I don't think they're not all game changers, but they're all just little ways that you can earn little pieces of revenue here and there as a streamer or a content creator over there, especially if you're making if you're actually making VODs as well as your live streams over on YouTube. It gives people because, you know, maybe you get stuck in a loop where someone's found you on YouTube, but they don't necessarily ever catch you streaming live. It is a way for them, if they do like to still catch up on your content, to be able to donate tips to you, just like someone that happens to catch your live streams can as well. So for those sort of people, it'd come in really handy. Thanks, Sticks, for the subscription to there too. Thanks for interrupting my comment there with the alerts and everything. It's great. Thanks. Appreciate you, mate. And so that's enough. We'll go on to the next one.
That's enough for me. Yeah, cool. For sure.
Okay, so now we've got a little bit of an analysis. Last week we talked about YouTube and the way how we don't know kind of how the YouTube works, and I kind of theorized that if it works similar to the algorithm on Facebook, that we were talking about how you can't find YouTube live streams when you go to the YouTube app or the website, and it's very hard to find where they actually are. So, you know, it's the figures are telling us that they're clocking in at over 1 billion watched hours on just their gaming live streams, but like, where are they when you go to the app? But I found out, I kind of already knew where to find them, but it is a bit of a around the trap. So you have to find the gaming section, and when you go to the gaming section, there is a live tab, so you can go to live. Then you open up into the live section of the YouTube gaming side of the platform. What I did was made sure that I watched some streams this week and started subscribing to some people, and I'd probably only open up my phone like for about 10 minutes or so and watch a stream. I'd find one that I liked, I'd watch it, and then I might subscribe to it, might move on to the next one. I only did it a couple of times a day, and then at night time I'd check my phone as well. And so even after the first time I went to the YouTube gaming side of things and found some live streams and hung out in the chat and watched some streams and subscribed to them, even by a few hours later when I went back to the app, I brought up the app, and now on my homepage was edited videos by that person, but also lives. I stayed in the same directory too. I started watching Call of Duty streamers, so when I went back to the app, I had live Call of Duty streamers in my homepage on my timeline already.
Okay.
And so that's
interesting.
So it worked exactly the same as the way Facebook works. I think I'll just bring it back to the chat here actually, so we can discuss it.
Yeah, for sure.
It worked kind of exactly the way that the Facebook app works as well. As soon as you start watching a certain type of content, it changes what that app actually is to you when you open it up. So now when I go I started a new account on YouTube. So I've got different accounts on YouTube. I started a new one for the purpose of this investigation. And as soon as I did that, now when I go to that account, the homepage on YouTube is literally just live streams of the same game that I've been watching, edited videos of those people that I've subscribed. And one thing that I found really, really interesting is and I don't think all of the creators there do it, but one of the guys is scheduling his future live streams. And so 3 or 4 spaces down, there's the thumbnail for his next stream with the time and everything and a title for it. And it's prompting me to set a notification bell for a reminder on my phone for that stream, which I found quite interesting too. So that's something. Yeah. And that was literally on my homepage about 4 or 5 spaces down. Now at the moment, I'm only following like maybe 4 or 5 people in that little investigation. So it'd be interesting to see how much of his stuff appears. I guess it depends on how much of his stuff I watch.
But, Again, it's interesting because like for me that is sort of what I expected in a way, you know, like once you sort of dissect more of that content, then you'll get more of that content. Like I do follow a few YouTubers who have like premieres for their streams, you know, like whether a video premieres or a stream schedule comes up. So I do see those come up as well. I guess for me, it's just the discoverability, you know, unless you purposely go in there and decide that that's what you're going to do. How are you going to find those people to begin with, you know, other than going through and accessing the app that way? People don't think of that when they think of YouTube. People think of go to YouTube and just look up stuff, you know. So while I see the merit of it, if you're in deep, I feel like you kind of have to get in before you can make that decision. And that's, to me, what separates the content still, you know. I think having like a specific, like, it needs something on the front page. It does. At the end of the day, it needs something on the front page, or it needs its own tab, you know, its own like sidebar, something on the other side that would make the whole thing done. Like it would work, you know. But it definitely needs that to me. Like,
to me,
I think it's cool.
I really liked it. I've actually enjoyed my time. Like, you know, I've been saying when I start streaming, I'll probably go to Facebook. I think I'll probably restream to YouTube and try it out.
Wow, interesting.
I think it's because in the back of my head, I do plan to make at least one edited video a week as well, like on top of that. Yeah. Because I don't, like we talked about before, I don't stream every single day of the week, so it's not like they're going to catch me live. I actually think like in terms of discoverability, for example, just as an off the side too, I noticed that during the daytime, Australian time, nighttime it's a bit different. There's a lot more people on there, but during the daytime, which is when I would have thought that a lot of American streamers would be on, or maybe that did. No. So there was less than 1,000 people watching Warzone streams on YouTube Gaming during the daytime at a lot of times just this week.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So you'd go in so if you are somebody who, you know, you've listened to us talk about don't play the oversaturated first-person shooter games. Yeah. YouTube or somewhere like I know there's lots of people streaming that sort of stuff on Facebook. I was quite surprised at how diluted that is on YouTube. There was guys sitting there a lot with 40, 50, 20 viewers playing Call of Duty, which I'd assume that those people, if they did that on Twitch, would have less than 5, the same as 96% of the rest of the platform. Now I've forgotten what I was actually going to say about it. So in terms of the YouTube, the way we think about YouTube and how it's not a live streaming platform, the same that we talk about Facebook in a similar vein. Yep. There is already people there watching live streams that don't use YouTube the way that we traditionally use it. Hence the over 1.2 billion watched hours in the last quarter.
Maybe I'm just in this space too heavily. I just don't see outside of it.
I think so. Like your Twitch, and you're doing quite well on Twitch. You don't need to think about streaming on YouTube or Facebook as well. But I think it's interesting for people thinking about starting out. Like, and I've heard this for a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if they do have plans for the future. Like, as you mentioned, if they just figured out a way to put it on the homepage there, then, you know, it'd be off to the races a little bit more with YouTube. Yeah. It'd be interesting if they did a thing like with Facebook, where Facebook, if you watch live streams, the next day you'll see that there's a Facebook gaming button right on your homepage, on your timeline. Yeah. Down the bottom. Yeah. You know, if you're used to Facebook, you have like the groups. There's 5 buttons down the bottom. You got like groups and marketplace and blah, blah, blah. If you watch Facebook gaming streams on there or any Facebook gaming content, you'll probably find within a day you've got a Facebook gaming button right there on the homepage you can click on. It would be interesting if you're thinking about starting out on a platform, do your research, do what I've done. I think go and watch streams and try and figure out how the apps work and how the platforms work, because getting started on a platform that is still trying to build, and we can see they're obviously putting work into YouTube with the features that they've been releasing recently. So imagine if you got onto a platform and started working out how to work the algorithm and how to provide the right content for there, and then they do put the button on there and you're already established or even semi-established on that platform. But just the Call of Duty thing, if you are a first-person shooter gamer and you've always thought, you know, I've got to play different games that I don't enjoy, maybe have a look at something else, like, because it really opened my eyes. Not that I'll be able to stream during the daytime though, which is a bit of a thing, like, because traditionally I have been a Call of Duty streamer or back in the day. So I tried to do everything that the low energy streamer, I try to do not that when I'm streaming. I try to stand out in different ways. And I'm not going to go into it, but we've talked about it before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, interesting. Like, I'm glad that you went and did that research for it, because it's definitely, like, if I wasn't entrenched where I am right now, I would definitely be looking at restreaming. So that's honestly, if I can give advice to anyone in the chat who's not sure, if they're not seeing success at the moment, or if they're just feeling like maybe they should try something different, do it. Try everything different. Don't necessarily restream, for example, but what I would suggest is just do a day on YouTube once a week. Do a day on Twitch once a week. Do a day on Facebook gaming once a week. Do a day on Trovo, and do that for a month. See where you enjoy the most, see where you get the best interaction, and then make a decision from there. Yeah, you know, Twitch has rules once you hit affiliate that allow for a 24-hour window on releasing content to other avenues. And there is obviously rules that apply to partners as well as affiliates for the sake of streaming on other services anyway, although I hear a lot of those are rumors. So I'd really like to get the deep dive on what the actual reality is of the situation, because I wouldn't mind streaming to another platform, even as a partner, if I could, because it's just more people. It's just more places to see you, you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, honestly, if I could give any advice to anyone watching and not quite sure, it'd be that. Try everything. Just try it and see how you feel. If you're not getting what you want out of it at the moment, try something different. Yeah. And that's honestly it.
And if you're not like Shippy and need to earn a living on one platform, and therefore, you know, you can't stream elsewhere at the same time, so you're kind of limited to that. But if you're not like, so for me, for example, I am not interested in being an affiliate on Twitch whatsoever, because of the fact that I like to test the waters on other platforms. And at the end of the day, I don't even know if Twitch is going to be the place where I end up producing any content. I'm not sure yet, but I like to make sure that I'm spread across other platforms, and so I probably wouldn't. Me personally, I don't need the fun. Like I do want to be I want to be in this space at some point as like a job would be great. That's my be like, you know, my pipe dream here in the industry is to be a full-time content creator of some sort, because I like doing it. But in the meantime, I'm not interested in being an affiliate or being a level up on Facebook or whatever it is at the moment. If I was to, or when I do kickstart my streams again, because I don't need to, because I have the job outside of things, it's different to Shippy, is that I will be putting myself across as many places as I can, so that there is as many eyeballs as possible on what I do. It obviously would be something that you might have to settle on something later on down the track. It's a future Luke problem kind of thing when I do start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, and speaking of future Luke, I know you've got a pretty busy schedule today. So, are we at the end of our commencing of our around the grounds?
No, that's it for the around the grounds. Thanks. We can move on to the next point. I've got a little bit of time.
Okay, cool. Too easy. Let's do that then. Where are we with the next thing? Where is this? We've got one from Kaiju, the Kai, that's right, isn't it? How do you feel about streaming certain games with trusted friends? Do you feel like they make content easier as you have someone to bounce jokes off, or do you prefer streaming by yourself and keeping the banter and jokes with chat? What's your thoughts?
So I think that a lot of the times what a lot of people do is they will play with their friends to make it themselves more comfortable on stream, especially if you're not used to being a performer. I'm not used to being a performer. I did start out a lot, me being a shy boy, I didn't like playing with my friends on stream anyway, even though didn't know what I was doing on stream. But I think that's the way to go. I think you should stick yourself in front of a camera and get as uncomfortable as you possibly can, and learn as you go, because that's what I did, and it worked for me for a little bit. I did play with friends in the end, but you do have to make sure that if you're playing with friends that you are still, like, your number one focus is your chat. Try and have a way to be able to turn your friends off if you need to, so that you can chat the chat. Make sure you've communicated to your friends that you are streaming and you are there to stream, and it's not like a normal gaming night with your mates. And if you've got the right friends that you're playing games with, then they should understand. I did. My friends knew. They weren't very talkative as well. They're not like overbearing people. And if I was streaming with other streamers, and that was easy because we both kind of disappeared from each other's voice chat as well to talk to chat as well. So as long as you can do it in a way that keeps you interactive with your chat, it's a good way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you guys, most of you have seen or at least heard my perspective on this before. I think it's not good. My personal preference is there's nothing worse to me than going into a stream and hearing a bunch of people talking. Like when I go in and I'm looking and I'm seeing, oh, Lukey Bangerz, let's go check out Lukey. I love his content, love hanging out with him. I love every time I go in the chat, he's always like, what's going on there, Shippy? How you doing? And I get in the chat and he's just like, hey, man, I'm going to get that over here, going to do this, going to get that shot. No, it's all good. I've got about 10 seconds before the boss wipes. Let's go. All right, we'll just do it again. Like, for me, and then you hear like someone who you don't know talking on the other side of the thing. And then you're like, hey man, how you doing? And they just don't listen, or they're like, oh, you're going, like, I hate that. And I'm clicking straight off, legitimately clicking straight off. Because there's just my value, like we've said before, is television. This is television where people talk to me and I talk to them. The value that I hold in Twitch is that interaction. So for me, the difference is if you go to YouTube and it's like, beers with the boys, let's play some games, let's play the forest, like, in that situation, you know what you're getting. You know that you're getting me plus a couple of mates having a drink, playing a video game, laughing at each other's stupid dick jokes, and that's it. That's what you're getting. So it's completely different. You choose to click on that because you want to see that content. Whereas with streaming, it's more of an intimate, personal experience. So you want to be able to provide that to those people in that situation. That being said, if you've got some real good friends, maybe it's a different thing. Maybe if you've got some friends who are just as funny as you, maybe it's its own thing in itself. But I don't know. I feel like I find it hard to give the reins to anybody else. I find it hard to say, right, you have as much say as I have on this channel. You can say what you want, just keep it, PG, and then they don't, and you just like. like what do you say? What do you do? Because it's all of a sudden they're coming in, they're throwing slurs out there, and obviously it's the people that the right people and everything like that. But at the same time, you never know. Like you never know. So I find it really hard to hand the reins over. So for me, in my personal opinion, you are much better off bringing that to a platform that you don't necessarily use. Now, whether that is a different channel on Twitch. So say I've got like the Warship and then I've got like the Warship Plays or something like that, or like Beers with the Boys. Yep. That is a channel dedicated to it. Again, people have an expectation. They know what they're watching. So that's an alternative that I can get around. Or if you have like a scheduled show. So you say, all right, so not part of my regular programming, not at 9:30 AWST 5 nights a week, but say like 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. or the 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, a Sunday morning, on the weekends. We'll do that. As long as it's like well established and people know that's what you're doing on that day, then so be it. So be it. But at the same time, I feel like it needs to be its own. It needs to be different from what you currently do. Yeah. That's just my personal perspective on it. Like, it could be completely wrong, but
I think you're right with the not wanting to give the reins to anybody else. That's kind of what I felt in my streams before when I have streamed with other people. It's like, and I think I found it the hardest when I used to play Destiny as well. Like, I was doing so well, everyone wanted to play with me, and I did actually let people in out of my community to play, but they weren't even people that at that time, it was a mistake. There was another learning curve. I had people come on and just take over like I'll be doing, someone would be pestering me for ages and seeing me play with other people in my Discord on the, because everyone wanted to help Radman through Destiny, right? And so you'd come in and play Destiny, and there was at least one person I remember that was in my Discord and, oh, are you playing tonight? I want to play with you tonight. I'll take you through these raids or whatever. And then I don't know much about Destiny. I'm just sitting there playing pew-pews and hanging out with chat. And I'm playing Destiny, but I really don't understand Destiny still because I'm hanging out with chat all the time. And so these community members would take me through it. And I remember going to a raid where when we got into it, and then I'm like, oh, I can't kill anything. Oh, you're not at the right light level, so you can't do anything. So I literally had to sit there and watch them beat a raid on my channel. I'm like, okay, so we're not doing this again. And so I think you really, number one, like you do have to make sure that you're okay with other people being on your stream, and two, definitely has to be the right people. Like the other people that I streamed with quite a bit when we were playing Call of Duty was a couple of people that I actually know in real life and have been friends with for a long time. And they, like I said, they're not very over the top. They're very quiet for the most part, except for one time when one of them got up to go for a leak and forgot to turn his mic off, and all we heard was the echoing flow of his his business, and we're like, have you got your fucking mic on?
You probably shouldn't have that.
But it turned into a clip, so I made it into content. It went all over social media. And I had a friend that's a Scottish streamer as well that I've got to know, and he was funny because no one could understand what he was saying, so that was great. The chat always loves that. So I think if you find the right people and it becomes a part of your... First off, it's got to be the right people. You've got to understand that those people, anyone that appears on your stream, is now a part of your content, and is that the content that you want on your stream? And then two, you can do it as a channel, or like you said, like a YouTube channel, but you could do it as a Twitch channel if that's what people are used to seeing, and it's entertaining. It's got to be entertaining. If you're going to have other people on there, it's got to be entertaining. And if it's not, then maybe you shouldn't play with your friends. If you're anything like me, I go into my shell a little bit when I'm streaming, because I was doing the character streams. I'm playing a superhero. I'm over the top and all this sort of stuff, and really trying to be funny and entertaining for chat, and then I'll turn on the game and try and party up with some people, and now I'm like, oh, hang on, these two people know me in real life. I usually speak to them differently. I've now got it. No, now I'm not trying to be a silly because I know that there's actually people talking to me, and for me it just weirded me out a little bit. So I know when I go back streaming again, I kind of think that I'm not going to be doing a lot of if any at all, like party sort of stuff for those reasons. So there's a few things to take into consideration. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. So like I said, like, it honestly at the end of the day is more of a what works best for you. And if it works best for you, then you should do it. But all I can give you is my experiences and my perspective on it all. So 100%. There's not much that we can do outside of that. Just do what you're comfortable with. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, change it up. Like that's kind of all we do here when it comes to streaming. You know, some things work, some things don't work. Interactions won't be the same week to week. I learned that this week. You know, sometimes you think that you'll be doing the right thing, and you're like, I sat there for a lot of today and yesterday, like, what have I done wrong? What am I doing that's bad? And I know that's a bit defeatist, but I really, really struggled with it this week. And it's important to know that everyone has those struggles, whether you've got 10 people in the chat or 100 people in the chat. It's important to know that we all go through it. If something's not working, just mix it up. Just change it. Do something different. And hope it works. Usually we would, at this point in the stream, we'd have a rant. I kind of feel like we can't necessarily do what I would do usually. Sometimes I have the shot now.
You don't want to do a rant?
No. I don't think we really have time for it because it would be a pretty big one. I want to do it right on DMCA. So,
right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because for me, music right now is another hot topic, especially with the new app that we were linked to earlier. There's a lot going on when it comes to DMCA at the moment, and it's a very hot topic. So I want to save that for next week.
How long
do that there.
How long do you reckon you need? 10 minutes?
No, I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, my brain's a little bit fizzled out after the discussion we've had today as well. Yeah. Let's leave it for next week because then we can really attack it. We can make the whole stream sort of around the DMCA problem because there is an issue on Twitch, and that issue is not going away until we're allowed to have our goddamn mother music back. We need our music back. We need it back now. It is such a big part of how we stream. It is such a big part of how we interact with people. There's just so much that I could say right now that I'm not saying about it because it's frustrating as all hell. But we'll get into that later. We will get into that later because if I don't get into that, if I don't stop now, like it's going to continue for the rest of the night. Because there's a lot going on with that just needs attention. You know, like it's killed so many industries. It's killed the DJ industry. It really harbors and holds off on what we can do when it comes to streaming in general, like comfort in streams. Everyone uses like crappy lo-fi, or they get around the problem like what I do, or they use this new thing that's currently going around. Like there's just. It doesn't need to be this difficult, and I think it just is at the moment, and I think we're just allowing it to happen. We are just laying down and absolutely copying it sweet. And yeah, not a fan at all. So for next week, we'll deal with that.
Good stuff.
And I guess we're kind of at that point now where we have that question there, Luke, and that's where can the people find you today?
Well, thanks for asking, mate. Everyone, you can find me at Lukey Bangerz on pretty much everything with a Z at the end. You've got to remember that because I'm cool. If it had an S on the end, not so cool.
Not cool.
No. So Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, anywhere you like. Instagram, I don't really post on Instagram, but everywhere else, you could look for me at Lukey Bangerz. What about you, Warship? Where can we find you?
I have been posting up until the baby came. I've been posting every day on Twitter about this stupid username. I am the Warship everywhere except on Twitter, where I am _Warship because we still don't have that URL. We still don't have the account. It's rubbish and it's the worst. But you can find me everywhere else at the Warship, whether it be TikTok or whether it be YouTube. Whether it be Instagram, I don't really post on TikTok that much, but no matter where you go, you should be able to find me at the Warship. And if not, you'll find me as Warship.
Nice.
And yeah. It is what it is when it comes to the Twitter thing, but hopefully we get it soon. And obviously I do stream 5 nights a week right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Warship.
That's it, guys. Check him out. Check out the Warship. Make sure you drop by his streams during the week.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe we're going to legitimately end not long after this, rather than going to a Lukey style show.
Yeah. No show tonight. I've got to go somewhere. So this will be it, guys. Hope everyone has a good weekend.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. And we are Streamaholics, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, legend. Thanks for watching the show. If you want to make sure that you're up to date with all of the Game On Aus content here on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.